Hi, thanks for joining me here today. This video helps engineers and professionals prepare for interview in the demanding tech sector. We'll break down the process into planning and research, which we'll go through really quickly, and then focus in on preparation. And for planning, taking it as a given that you've got the journey, arrival time, dress and hair covered. Couldn't be easier. Research. It's always worth reminding that hiring managers are passionate about their companies, about their positions and their challenges. If a candidate hasn't researched the company, it's always the first thing that's mentioned in feedback. So the minimum you want to be looking at is the company website and of course the job description. But in addition to the above, use what's available and appropriate to you. So if you can look at the team involved on LinkedIn in the function you're interested in, great. Company performance, if that's available. Commercial, organisational or market challenges, competitors even, or CEO, all dependent on what you require. So we briefly looked at planning and research. We're now in the section where we're going to focus, which is preparation. Starting off with an easy section, which is your personal questions. This is all very straightforward. These are questions that help you make your overall decision. So we're looking at flexibility, hours, home working, benefits, whether or not there'll be encouragements for social interaction, etc., if that's important to you. And then moving on to questions that relate to the research that perhaps you've been able to undertake that might be looking at things outside of the immediate business function. So we're going to have a look at interview types and questions, and in particular the questions, because we're going to be focusing later on how to respond to questions. Interviews will be on phone, online, face-to-face or panel. Broadly break down into technical or behavioural and competency. Most engineers and professionals have the technical part covered. Behavioural and competency, not so much. So let's have a quick refresher on the types of those questions. So there'll be something along the lines of, tell me about yourself. What are your strengths and weaknesses? Tell me about a time when you met, a work challenge, or a conflict at work. And before we leave this slide, just want you to acknowledge to yourself that these are quite broad questions. And so, of course, your answers can be broad as well. Let's look at your responses to those questions. And in order to do so, let's refresh your story and your self-awareness. And I want you to, in effect, try and take a step back mentally from work. And your aim is to try and get some detachment. And it's almost as if you're looking back over your shoulder at you in your work situation. And once you've done that, reflect on how you've developed professionally from a skills, character, and knowledge of yourself point of view. And once you've done that, then recall the stories of key work events and note them down. And then flesh them out, develop them if you like, and rehearse those stories. And use the STAR framework as a guide, maintaining a natural flow. You can Google the STAR framework. Quick tip, many candidates talk about we did this or we did that. But of course, employers are only interested in you. So it should be, for example, I designed, I implemented. If your stories can be interesting, marvellous. If they can be repurposed for different questions, even better. You have more opportunities, more responses. Apart from stories, your stories in the interview, how will you reveal your character? It sounds easy, but interviews can be formal. Nevertheless, you can anticipate moments when the process will relax and you can be yourself. In addition, you can consider treating those in the interview as if they're colleagues already, by which I mean fast track to whom you are with colleagues that you already know and trust. And then finally, you can use telling your stories as opportunities to reveal your character and gently warm up the interviewer, signaling to them that they can relax too. This is the last slide in preparation. Doubtless you'll be pleased to hear that. So it's posing the question, is the journey through the interview guided by the job description or context, the real position that stands behind the JD? So the JD can be the core of the interview, and the context may emerge partway through, or they're explicitly combined. Or you may be able to elicit context with a question. For example, what's happening now? At what stage is the program? Is it a new initiative? Is it business as usual? Or are they growing a team? Or a similar open question. However the interview unfolds, you should give thought to the real position you'll undertake standing behind the JD. Descriptions of context provide opportunities for you to work at the desired status that stands behind the job description, by which I mean your desired professional status, for example, junior engineer, engineer, senior engineer. And you should seize these opportunities to explain something about yourself. If appropriate, perhaps you could use a whiteboard, put a design up or a solution that you're familiar with. What you're seeking in these moments where context is being discussed and you know something is to add value, demonstrate capability, provide insight even. So now we're looking at delivery, and you're actually in the interview. Imagine yourself in the room, and we're looking at your performance and some key reminders to help you along. So bring a relaxed energy, bring your flexibility. An interview can be up to 3 hours if it's a second interview, for example, and you're likely to have changes of participants, pace, mood, settings and subjects. Bring your decisiveness and authenticity, and anticipate being nervous initially, but your voice will quickly give you comfort as the interview proceeds. Use your listening. Gently monitor their body language and look for clues about whether you provided the response that they've hoped for in a question. Use their language if it's appropriate. And remember, we want honesty and candidness from our colleagues. And smile. Enjoy the process. If you don't know the answer to a question, then ask a supplementary follow-up question and seek to clarify exactly what it is that they need. How you pursue something that you don't understand can be very revealing, especially if you're using engineering skills or problem-solving skills to arrive at a solution. It's a fine balance. If you don't know the answer and no end of problem solving will deliver it, it's best to be honest and say, I don't know. Honesty provides future colleagues with reassurance. And so here you are now in the last few moments of the interview. If you haven't had an opportunity to ask questions up until now, now is the moment. You can also ask if there's any responses that you've given that didn't answer the question that they had hoped for. Don't forget to tell them that you want the job and to ask them what the next steps are. And that's it. Don't give them everything at the first interview. And if this has been useful, please give me a thumbs up. Thank you very much. Good luck. Bye-bye.